I'm thrilled to be joined by the boys from G4 again. How are you?
Good,
Very well.
yeah.
Well, it's nice to see you again, because the last time I spoke to you was in Nottingham when you were doing this big, whopping, great big tour. And really what I want to know from that was, how many women did you lay after that?
We are incredibly professional, and we were so busy, I don't think we can think about it, to be honest.
Oh, come on. 4 strapping boys on tour. I mean, there's got to be perks, hasn't there?
We had a lot of attention. It was incredible, but just the support that we've received, and it's just very surreal to have all these, women seem to be, I don't know, it's very strange, but it is certainly a perk of the job.
How long ago was it now when you were doing X Factor like these lot are now?
It was a year ago. It's really weird watching the second series, thinking it's pretty much exactly a year ago since we were in that situation and doing all that journey ourselves. Sit there and watch everybody getting nervous. We were there for the first show on the Saturday night, and watching everybody get really nervous and tense about it, going back to how we were back then, brought up some very interesting memories.
I don't wish to be disrespectful, but you really have made a mockery of the whole X Factor thing, haven't you? You've proved that actually the best one didn't win, because you guys are the most successful thing that's come out of it.
I don't know if that makes a mockery of that or any other show, in that lots of people that go on to have success don't necessarily win them. It's just a way of being different, being yourself, being true to what you are, and hopefully getting the public to warm to that throughout the show, and whenever you leave, hopefully then getting signed and making a career for yourself. But if you win it, you can still make a success of yourself, and I think that people don't necessarily think if you come second you got success, third, fourth, first you haven't, or whatever. It could be anybody.
That guy was never going to sell records though, was he?
It's a strange thing. I was just going to say on the previous point, the weird thing is with voting, why are people voting? Are they voting because they fancy the person? Is it because they like their voice? Is it because they would buy their album if they brought it out? And I think that's the key issue with it. And with us, luckily people really bought into us and gave us enough voting that we got through enough profile that we could get signed and have an album out there. But that's the whole weird thing, and I think we've looked at this second series very differently, at the people on there, to see who we think should deserves to do well, who's got talent, and actually who would sell records afterwards. And it's very hard to call that.
We'll talk about who's good and who's not this year in a moment from now, but firstly I want to talk about you and the journey through X Factor. Firstly, how did it all start? Why did you want to do it, and why did you end up being the biggest star from it?
It all started about 2 years ago, well, a year and a half now, actually, in January, when Jon and the guys approached me and said, do you fancy joining this little group we had going? So I did. We went out busking on the streets. We were quite successful at that. Then Jon saw the advert on TV, made a phone call, and we entered the competition purely as a bit of fun. And then we entered the show, and everyone seemed to like what we were doing, and we just went from strength to strength. And then this past year has just been an amazing experience, and from one crazy thing to another, it's been unbelievable.
It must slightly screw up your head, the fact that 18 months ago you were all nobodies, and now you're big stars that everybody recognises. We just walked through the office, and the people in XFM that play Big Up Yourself music, they've never heard a classical tune in their life, went, oh, that's G4, and they all wanted to talk to you. I mean, that must be odd.
I think it is a real reality check when you find that. I mean, you can go along in so many aspects of your life and in some ways forget that it's happening, but then something will happen, whether you turn up at a gig and people recognise you, or you turn up, you go out on a night out and people are coming up and talking to you, and you get that check every now and then, just like realising what actually has happened to us. And it has been the most mad year, but when you're inside the situation, and I know it's the same for the guys on X Factor this time, when you're inside the situation you don't really have any idea of what's going on, any idea of the hype that surrounds it, and it's only us on the outside. Well, luckily we're on the outside this time, we can see the hype that's surrounding it, and I think it's been an education for all of us, because when we were in it we had absolutely no idea to some extent.
It's always nice to do it first though as well, isn't it?
It's always nice to be first on a show like that. I think it's proved great to get in there and not necessarily, you're quite in the unknown, because the X Factor was such a new format and it was taking such diverse contestants compared to previous reality TV shows, that it was great to go in there and kind of try it out and be the first, and thankfully it worked for us as well, which makes it even more fun. We'll
go along the line and ask the question, what's the best thing about being famous, Matt?
The best thing about being famous? Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, really. Everyone knows who you are, and which is great for what we do, and everyone wants to listen to our music and read about us in a book and everything. The other side of it is that walking along the streets, when people come up to you and say, oh, you're the guy from G4, can I have a picture or autograph, things like that. It's a really wonderful thing that people know who you are. But at the same time, there are occasions where sometimes you sit there and you think, oh, well, I'm just trying to have a dinner or something, and that kind of thing. But that's the double-edged sword of it. So it's a very interesting thing, but it is great.
Mike?
I think the freebies have been pretty good. They've
Come on,
been a
what do you
little
get
few
then?
and far between, but I mean, we've got Sky Plus. We've had a few suits and things along the way, and it's just been really nice to have those things that we wouldn't have been able to afford beforehand. Certainly.
Well, being student, £7.50 for Sky Plus, I mean, that's a lot of money, isn't it? All right, Ben, what's the best thing for you?
I think, being cheesy for a second, being famous is kind of a byproduct of everything that we do, and I think that the more famous you get is because more people know who you are and more people are enjoying what you're doing, and the fact that enough people have enjoyed what we've been doing in order that people then in turn get to know us more. I think we carry on with that journey, and the fact that people have been bought into what we're doing, it's a fantastic byproduct of that.
What was that?
Well, no,
Okay,
it
cool.
makes sense.
It was a sensible answer, John. What about you?
That just confused me. I think Ben's far more intelligent. So I'm going to
Just
go
the
back
ladies
down
for you,
to
isn't
grounds
it?
root. I was going to say that. The fact that you can sit in a bar, you can check out someone at the bar, and they might look back and come sit down and talk to you. I'm going to go back down to that level.
All right, well, we're back next with G4. We've got the boys here, Ben, John, Matt and Mike. They've got the new book out. They've got the new CD out as well. We'll play some tracks from that here at Capital Gold. Here we go.
I got well lost.
It's basically Matt's answer, but highly long-winded.
Here we go. It's Capital Gold live across the UK. It's Alex Belfield with you, talking to the most interesting people and the biggest stars. And G4 have got this new book out called Our Way. And it's the official illustrated book of G4. And it's quite personal, isn't it, really, Matt? I mean, pictures of your childhood and stuff, I wouldn't want those publishing.
Well, I think, getting to this stage of where we've been, and where we've come from, it was a lot of, fans of always asking the questions about our past. And so we, kind of thought, well, we were approached by Virgin Books, and it'd be lovely to give out some of the information. So, answered some of the questions. And individually, it goes through our lives from, being born almost, and our background, family, all the way through music college, where we met, and the X Factor. And, I think to illustrate the our past lives, so to speak, not literally, but where we came from in our childhood, and and people are interested in that, or hopefully they are. So.
Mike, the last time I talked to you, I asked you about the question regarding your future and where do you go from here, because you've done the big tour, and often people have one big tour and then that's it, you never hear of them again. It seems like you've kind of got past that now, because you've got this second big album on the way, which everybody's talking about. You've got this new book out and a tour already booked for next year, so presumably you're feeling quite safe now, are you?
It's all a bit surreal. I mean, every time the first things happen, like the first album and the first tour, we were kind of pinching ourselves, think this is unbelievable, and this was our dream come true, just to have that album out on the shelves. And now coming round to it, and now we're doing the second album, and as you mentioned, the tour next year, it just goes to show that support has carried on with that, and it is incredible, and we're just having a great time, and luckily the support's continuing, and it's enabling us to do that. But you just don't know when you put something out; it's a bit of a risk, and you obviously hope it will do well, but you just don't know.
Depends what you're saying. What is X Factor? What is the show? The show is a incredibly entertaining Saturday night medium that just draws you in and gets incredibly addictive. You see it in the press. You talk about it in the bars, in your office, wherever you are. Everyone seems to be talking about this bustle and hype around it. Who they like, who they don't like, and unfortunately, a very small minority about it is the music. And as you say, Brenda and Andy's performances in the first week, just incredible. And the other contestants maybe didn't shine to that level in the performance, but they maybe look more conformist to a younger girl's vote, or as you say, they seem to be the bigger demographic that vote. And it's really, really hard to say, but hopefully in the end, the people that make it near to the end are the ones that have musical talent and a look and a personality, and hopefully can generate careers. But it doesn't necessarily mean that'll be the winner.
All right, John, let me ask the question. Who's going to win? Who deserves to win?
Deserves and will. I think Shane will win, and I need to see a lot more of them and see more of their personalities to decide who should win.
All right, Ben?
I think Andy was incredibly strong in the first week. He was the one performance that got us all spine tingling. It was that kind of moment. But I think Philip's got a lot further to go along the show and could be a dark horse as we carry on through.
Mike?
I think I'll go with John and say Shane, but it's such early days, and I mean, as a group, particularly last year, we really struggled the first few weeks. We were finding our feet. We weren't used to microphones. We'd never done that before, and so it'd be very interesting to see how people cope with it. And often a favourite up at the beginning, by the end, will just won't be there. So it'll be interesting to see.
Matt?
On the strength of last week's performances, I mean, obviously it is very early on, and I wouldn't like to say who will win, but I think who has a good chance, and not everyone deserves it because they've got that far. But I think Shane is quite a strong candidate. But I really, really liked Andy, and I mean, it's okay. It's only one performance, but I think that he can, if he can do that every week, he'll go a long way.
What about the pressure? Just let me ask you that feeling the first time you walked out knowing that 15 million people were watching you live on TV. How did you feel, and how did you hold it together to even be able to open your mouth to get out a note? It's
the weirdest thing in the world, because although there's, say, 600 people in the audience, and we've performed to that many people before, you don't realise really when you're on there, because everything, the cameras are flashing in front of your face, the lights are going everywhere, the judges are in front of you, you've been asked questions by Kate Thornton, and you don't really realise that on the other side of that little little black box there are so many people, and it's only until you come out of the bubble, so to speak, and walk down the street when everyone goes, oh, it's G4, it's G4. That's when you realise that the TV is such a powerful thing. I went away for a weekend to Wales, and I went into the local pub, and we were in the middle of nowhere, and there was two guys sat at the bar, and I walked in, they went, that's G4, and that was the moment when I thought, wow, that TV is an amazing thing.
So what is it then? I mean, is it like when you're in here now, you've not got any concept the fact that we're running Birmingham, Manchester, Wales, the South, Isle of Wight, London, we cover 7.2 million in London alone. I mean, is it the same kind of thing where you're not actually really nervous because you're not really aware of what's going on around you?
I don't think you can be that aware of it, and that you can look up there and see however many 500 people in the studio, and you just, in a way, you want to give them the best possible performance, but then you have to be aware from a logistical point of view of the cameras and all of that. But you don't look at a camera and think, oh, there's 15 million people on the other side of that camera lens. You just think about the people there in the audience, them representing that and hopefully doing the best possible job and giving the best possible performance.
Listen, it's always nice to talk to you. Very finally, the thing that I think is marvellous is that Simon Cowell tried to piss on your chips by bringing out a group called Il Divo, who are fantastic. I think they're great. I love their album. But he tried to ruin you with that, really, didn't he? And he hasn't managed to succeed. Why do you think you're still here now?
I think because we had exposure for so many weeks, and people don't just like and listen to our music. They like and listen to our music and feel the emotion far stronger from our vocals, because they've seen you break down, they've seen me cry too many times under the pressure on the show, they've seen all of us standing there complete wrecks, and especially the emotional songs. I think it really draws the audience right into their speakers, and they just listen to it with such an intensity, which is great.
I wasn't going to bring up the crying, but being as you have, are we any more in control of your disabilities of blurring it out? I mean, are you any more in control of your emotions?
I'm a lot more in control. I don't cry very often. It's very strange, the pressure that put all of us under, and I mean, the camera's focused on me, but everybody shed tears at many, many stages in the show. But I think Matt was clever enough when we went through and told our families we were through to go and hide in the back garden without a camera, while I was stood there hugging my dad at the time. And it was really difficult, and they picked up on that focus on the show, and there's many awful photos of me clutching a manky tissue, rubbing my eye, and it's just horrible to see back. But it's incredibly endearing for audiences, and I love the fact that maybe when someone hears me singing emotionally, they might connect back to that and really believe that it means everything to all of us, all those performances, and that in turn generates more emotion for them when they listen to the tracks.
I would think on the getting laid-ometer, that's towards studmuffing, isn't it? Crying all the time, I suppose. Listen, guys, thank you.
Silence.
I'll leave it with you.